I tried to take a selfie of me in the t-shirt to show you how cool it looked, and I just looked like a complete.
Nice.
Did you have any other clothes on?
That's what.
Yeah, no, there was a mirror in the back of all the pictures, and you could just see my bare ass. That's why I didn't send them to you.
It's a real shame.
That's how we should advertise all our merch.
Your ass.
Yeah, just no picture of the t-shirt. It's just a picture of my ass.
You get a free high def printout with every t-shirt.
Yeah, that's the small print. The title says that you're getting a t-shirt, but actually you're getting a framed picture of my ass.
Who wouldn't want that, though?
I can think of one person.
I can't.
I can't. No, I'd welcome that.
Okay. Well, I regret making this joke now.
that photo's been shipped to you.
It's your own fault, AT.
I wasn't expecting you to run with it. I need to stop talking.
Yeah.
Good.
It's like that stupid hero draft video that I threw out as a meme, and then you two were like, "Yeah, let's do that." I was like, "Oh, okay."
It was a good video.
Was it? The people didn't like it.
The people don't know what they want.
That's true.
Good morning and welcome to the Hobby Breakfast Show. Before you buy the Ring edition. Good. Today we're joined, as always, by myself, the Mayor.
Hello.
And
your grammar in that last sentence, myself, the Mayor. What is wrong with you?
No, there was a clear comma. Myself, comma, the Mayor.
There was no comma in the way you spoke. That was an unpunctuated sentence.
It's a good job that you can't have punctuation.
Well, your mic just cut out, and I'm sure that was a very good burn, but I'll never hear it.
I'm pretty sure your mic cut out in the intro as well.
Well, tough titties. Today we are looking at the Ring, and there's Bare Ass, which will just
if that didn't make the cold open, then people are going to be very confused.
That's okay. Just like in the famous film Fight Club, Mayor's bare ass will be inserted for one frame of this video.
I don't have a bare ass.
£10 to the person that screenshots it, provided by Mayor. The Fellowship, then. What will you need for rules? Well, as always, you'll need
the rules manual.
I'm really glad that we have that in every. You need the rules manual. You also need the Armies of the Lord of the Rings, where you will find all of the profiles required for this army. But because there is a spicy option for Legendary Legions, and also because it comes with all of the scenarios and things to do with the Fellowship, you might want to pick up Quest of the Ring Bearer as well. Mayor, what can you say about the overview for the Fellowship?
Well, there's a lot of one-word answers here. So the play style is obviously elite, hero heavy. That's an understatement. It's only hero actually. It's very easy to collect because you can buy it all in one amazing box for like 35 quid, is it?
Yeah,
something like that. And actually,
discounted as well.
My local GW store, which is very small and has a very, very small Lord of the Rings section, actually has the Fellowship as a box. So if you're wanting to pick it up, it's probably one of the easier things to pick up. Painting
light
as well, as you'll have perhaps seen in our most recent video comparing Star Wars Legion models to Lord of the Rings models.
If that comes out before this one.
That comes out before. If not, keep your eyes peeled.
Don't wait with bated breath. It was shit.
No. As ever, the salesman. So very easy to paint, at least compared to some miniature ranges. Difficulty to play is hard because you have a very low model count. Your army composition is pretty much always fixed depending on the points level. your opponents are almost always going to be outnumbering you, which isn't going to help for objective missions. Points, sweet spots, low to mid. Interesting assessment there.
I think just mid. I think
Yeah. I'm not sure I think mid probably, because when you get to high points levels, you're forced to take models that you might not at those points levels. Whereas I say that, like, you're probably going to want. I mean, I wouldn't take Gandalf in this unless I had to, honestly, because it's just too many points in something that's not going to be directly contributing to your killing power. Cost to collect low, obviously 1 box and you're sorted. Competitive viability, low to medium. I think it's probably just low, to be honest. If you had a really good player, then potentially it could be a medium competitive viability. I actually took Fellowship, not the Legion version, to an Ardacon once and won 1 out of 6 games, I believe, and I drew 1 game as well, and I only won against the White Council on an objective game. So yes.
Yeah, but that's before you became a meta power gamer. You'd win with.
I mean, I'd certainly try to win with them. But yeah, so that's their overview.
There we go. Army bonus then. So they have a few kind of small bonuses. So if Frodo is alive and on the table, everyone gets the Fearless special rule. And additionally, they are never broken if Frodo is alive and on the table, which is quite useful. Obviously, Frodo therefore becomes a key piece. You don't have to have him technically in the army. And I suppose you could argue that at certain point levels, you might still not take him. But I think a lot of lists are going to try and fit him in, which is nice and thematic. Alliances, they do get a few good alliances. So Lothlorien, Misty Mountains, and Rivendell are all historical. Rivendell especially, quite common, I think, to see. Like, quite a few people like running Boromir, don't they, with Riv Knights?
Yeah.
So that's something you will see. They also have a lot of their profiles end up in other legendary legions, which makes sense because they're the main characters in the films and books. They do also have some good convenient alliances. I think, though, I would argue that a lot of these convenient alliances have been made irrelevant by legendary legions. Like, you're not going to run them with Dead or Done Harrow as a convenient alliance when you can take Return of the King.
Yep.
Yeah.
Unless you really want that horse.
Like,
you're
not worth it.
Desperate to put Aragorn on a horse, but otherwise, yeah. So let's move on then. Faction itself, and there's quite a lot to talk about. Quite a few big boy heroes. We'll start with Gandalf because Mayor's already kind of given some of his views. Not worth it, Mayor says.
I don't know. He's a lot of points, and
yeah.
I feel like when you've got a low model count, although you've got a lot of big hitters which can take advantage of Gandalf casting Transfix, etc. What is there a good version of Transfix, or is it just Transfix?
Compel or Command.
Command.
Okay, well there you go. So when he's doing that, you have the opportunity to take advantage of it, but that's only if your opponent hasn't tied you up already, and if your opponent's got lots of models, they can prevent you doing stuff. They can prevent your models getting to their important models that you've commanded. There are all sorts of ways of getting around Gandalf when he's not with a proper army. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think he definitely can be useful, but I agree. He can, just because, as you say, you're going to end up being tied up quite a lot of the time. He can end up being kind of a bit superfluous, is a good word.
The thing is, like, at his points level, he's effectively competing with Strider, isn't he? And, like, for a choice between the two, I think you're always going to pick Strider.
I mean, obviously, there's stuff like, blinding lights, if you're going to be running them against a shooting army, would be very useful. I guess the main downside of Gandalf is that he's not in the Legendary Legion, and you're basically saying I'm going to take more expensive versions of these characters so that I can also run Gandalf.
Yeah.
Which
but
feels
also
like
you do get horses if you don't take the Breaking of the Fellowship, which is nice. Like putting a load of powerful heroes on horses.
Cut out completely there, so we barely heard what you said.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Yes,
Can you hear me now?
I agree.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
You're shouting.
What is happening? Okay, so all I was saying was, if you don't take the Legion, you can put them on horses, which is good.
Yes.
Yeah, that is true. But then you run into the issue of half them on horse, half them aren't.
Yeah.
Well,
and half that aren't on horse will be hobbits.
Yes, and you can just use those to be objective grabbers or stay out of the way because they're so cheap.
But then, as I can attest, you do kind of want Frodo and Sam with your big hitters so that you can use their might.
Yeah, and that free hero combat stuff.
Yeah, the shenanigans.
Which surprisingly good.
Aragorn, I mean, it's Aragorn. He's good. He probably should be slightly better because a lot of heroes now can compete with him, and obviously it's a bit of a feel bad. But he still gets a free vibe point every turn, so the guy's just good.
Yeah. And like his variety of heroics mean that you can nearly always take advantage of it. Like I mean, if he didn't have March, I think he would be so much worse, for instance, because especially, I mean, in virtually every army he ends up in, you're going to march 2 or 3 times probably before you make it to combat.
And he also lets you use, and he lets you use kind of random stuff like
accuracy.
You might call like heroic accuracy, heroic
defense, even.
Yeah, and it's just because it's like you might as well. And you're not like having to pick between that and like a heroic move combat like for other heroes, which is obviously really, really good. Obviously Andril, 40 points. Do we think that's worth it? 40 points?
No.
Yeah. Oh, I think it is. It used to be 75.
That was. I think the problem is for 40 points. Yes, you get an Elven Blade and you wound on a 4+, but like
it's not Elven.
It is Elven, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Andril's Elven, surely.
100% it is.
It's not Elven.
It is.
Look it up.
Come on. I don't have the book on me, but that is it. 100% is. I'm sure. If it's not,
it was literally made by elves.
Well, technically, it was really forged by them, but it's not. It's
a crock of shit.
Look it up, OT. Check it. We got.
I'm not saying Arnold's wrong. I'm just checking it.
It's
an elven-made hand and a half sword.
Right.
What, Andrew?
Yes.
Right.
It literally says in the book, Andrew is an elven-made hand and a half sword.
Okay, fine.
Right. So 40 points. So you go from being strength 4 to wounding everything on 4s. Like strength 4 is crap for a hero. It really is, especially for a hero that's that expensive. In my opinion, you might as well go the extra mile and pay the comparatively little extra to wound everything on 4s. That's much, much scarier, especially when your ability to win fights is going to be a lot higher than most other heroes because you have a free might every turn. You can use it to influence the duel roll. You can use it to outlast people when you're doing strike-offs. You're more likely to win fights, but unless you're more likely to wound, there's no point winning fights. I
think it makes Aragorn too expensive. Like, I think he suddenly becomes 200 points before any upgrades. And that's like a lot of points. Whereas without Anduril, you can get him 180 with horse, bow, and armor.
I mean, the horse definitely helps.
I think I agree with Matt, actually. I've played Aragorn, I think, enough now that I see the need for Anduril.
Yeah.
Expensive as it is.
I just wonder if the way to use Aragorn is not to necessarily focus on his wound capacity, is just to literally extract as much from the might points as you can by setting up the rest of your army.
But no one else in this army is any killier, to be honest.
Well,
No.
but I'd almost rather take, because the problem is if you're throwing Aragorn in and going for the 4+, my guess is you're going for like quite elite models who could also like kill him because he is only D6. So I do wonder if he's better in concert with other heroes who can combine together rather than just focusing on him with Andoril.
But all the other heroes are strength 4 or 3. Or
Yes,
2.
but that's why I'm saying combine them together rather than just rely on Aragorn doing it all by himself.
Yeah, but I mean, none of them are as killy as Aragorn. Like they. So the way I've used this before is you use Boromir, Legolas, and Gimli to strike up to help Aragorn win fights, and to use their might to allow him to win a fight, and then he's killing stuff on force. So suddenly you've got the free might on Aragorn, which obviously you'll use every turn anyway, whether it's a move or whether he is the one that ends up using a strike, or whether you save it to help win the duel roll or to wound. But Aragorn can be the one that you're enabling to do the wounds with his sword, as opposed to like Aragorn helping Gimli to win, even though he's still only strength 4. Granted, he can obviously two-hand. But yeah.
Aragorn can two-hand to get a 3 up,
Wow.
which makes him pretty good against like some of the biggest heroes. There we go. That's Aragorn. Legolas, he's useful.
Yeah, very useful. He's an honesty bow that, as OT and I obviously know, even if he's the only bow you have in your army, your opponent will be terrified because he can hit anything he wants, basically.
He basically just becomes like a caster with a 24-inch range, is like the way I would kind of think of Legolas. Like,
yeah, that's really interesting.
Like, what he does is, more than anything else, he just kills horses. Because with a strength 3 bow, you're normally needing like, what is it, 5? And with 3 might, like assuming you hit, obviously, which happens most of the time, like if he's on horse, you can just chuck him around, get him in range of a horse, have a pot shot, and like you're normally willing to burn at least 1 might, maybe even 2 if it's really important to kill that horse. And yeah, like I think a lot of heroes rely on being mounted to up their killing power, and if you can take that away, it just makes things like heroic combats less scary. They've got 1 less attack. They don't get knocked down. Like all of these things can really slow down big heroes.
Yeah. And he still fights 6, so he's still
still fight 6 with striking.
Still useful.
Elven made weapons in the fight as well.
Yeah, I think you would probably take him over Gimli if you had to choose. Would be
he has more utility. And also, he's 2 wounds, 3 fate, which like he's pretty tough. Like obviously he's fairly easy to wound, but like you have to get quite a few wounds through to kill him.
And you can give him an elven cloak to hide him a bit.
Yeah. Gimli then, he's useful.
Very good.
His little special rule he has with Legolas is likely to come into play because Legolas has probably sniped a couple of people by the time Gimli gets in. So he can be quite choppy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't really know if I have much more to say about him. Honest, he's just you take him because he's better than the hobbits.
Yeah, I mean the fact he has throwing axes is really nice. Like I think having played quite a lot of thralls recently, I'm increasingly coming around to the power of throwing weapons, and it does just let you do unpredictable little things sometimes. But yeah, like if Legolas has sniped off a couple of guys and he 2-hands, he's getting like +2 to wound, which could be pretty nice. Yeah, fight 68.
At 600, you're probably taking the 2 of them, Aragorn, and maybe some hobbits if you can afford it.
I think at 600 you take the Legion, right?
Well, yeah. I've sort of in my head I've got like a kind of a grouped list of priority where you take Aragorn and Frodo in the first tier, and then Boromir, Legolas, Gimli in the second tier, and then pretty much everything else comes after that if you can afford it.
I think you take Sam well before Merry and Pippin.
I haven't had much experience with him, to be honest. So
So the reason why you take Sam is because you put him into the same combat as someone useful, and then you get a free heroic combat, and you don't have to spend their might points as long as Frodo's in a different fight.
Right. Yeah, that
So
is super useful.
You just like ring walk with Frodo, like phase through their back line and tag their hero.
Yeah.
Chuck Sam and Aragorn into the chaff in front of the hero, free combat, so Aragorn can either strike so that the hero is potentially screwed, or Aragorn just has like, the might
to win the fight.
Yeah.
So Sam's really useful. I don't know if I take him above the more killy heroes, but he's definitely in a tier of his own beyond Merry and Pippin.
Merry and Pippin are kind of useless in my opinion.
Well, they
Objective cappers.
Yeah, they're useful
with a fate point. They have a fate point, don't they?
They have a fate point.
Yeah. I mean, you just make them go prone behind something, don't you, and hide.
Yeah.
Like,
or if they have elven cloaks,
Yeah. Well, then you're doubling them. No, elven cloak's 5 points, isn't it?
But in the Legion,
They're free.
Yeah, I think what you don't want to happen is bring all powerhouse heroes and then play domination, where you've got an objective in your backfield and you have to leave fucking Gandalf back there or whatever because you can't afford to send him forward.
Surely you'd leave Legolas because at least he can still affect the game.
Yeah, true.
Boromir then, 6 might.
Solid on a horse.
He's got a shield as well, which is quite useful because none of the others do.
And you just have to be so aggressive with him, like, because he's so, like, it's quite thematic in a way because it's so unlikely he's going to make it to the end of the battle. Because firstly, he's going to be quite a high priority target because he's got 6 might. And then if you lose a combat, he is only D6 with 3 wounds and no fate. So, like,
you basically just want to make sure you use all of his might before you die.
Might to win the combat, and then you just keep doing that until you lose a combat, and then you die.
I guess you could argue with his horn, like you could try and play a game where you just try and avoid the enemy heroes and just kill as much of their chaff with him as possible. But I think most opponents are going to minimize how many people you can charge.
Yeah, I'd say in a game I played against ruffians, like that horn just absolutely carried, and I think it does actually help him deal with quite hoardy armies quite well, because I mean, you basically just get quite often like a 50-50 chance to win the duel before you have to roll, and it just makes it so much more consistent, especially if you're charging in. Ruffians
and like Shire would be like dream matchups of Boromir because they don't have anyone who can take him 1v1.
Yeah,
and as soon as they put more than one person in on him,
you just wins. Yeah. He's got March, which is just so good. Like him, like that's basically the reason he made it into my Riv Knights list, is just because he had 6 might and March, and it just gave me so much maneuverability. So yeah, he's definitely a powerhouse.
Yeah, Frodo and Sam. Then we've kind of discussed them with the others already, but the ring, 3 hero combats, 4 might points for shits that you don't want to use the other heroes' might points for. They are useful. Obviously, 4-inch movers.
It's a problem. But also, you probably are going to be marching a lot of the time with Aragorn, so that does mitigate some of it. Admittedly, they do often end up getting left behind, but
they become slightly quicker than just regular people.
Yeah.
Merry Pippin, literally, they're just objective cap. I suppose like a cheeky throw stone, maybe, but even that's pointless.
They get re-rolling wounds in the Legion for what it's
worth.
Well,
they have a special rule, don't they, where they can use from his might.
Yeah.
Which I suppose in very niche cases might be useful.
Nice.
I'd probably actually consider taking them at low points levels as well, just because you're going to be so outnumbered. As long as killing them doesn't break you for some reason.
As long as Frodo's alive, it would.
Yeah. So.
But then at low points levels, you might not take Frodo.
Nah, you always take Frodo.
I think you always take Frodo.
Really?
You want the ring, and
but I mean, if like 350, you really think you can fit Frodo and who?
I'd probably take like Frodo, Legolas, Gimli, maybe.
Yeah, but that's like 200 and that's 290, 285 points.
350. 350. You take the 4 hobbits and Aragorn.
Do you?
No,
Unless you're going for the theme, I don't think you do.
Well, I would take the 4 hobbits, Legolas and Gimli at 350 if I was trying to be as comp as possible.
No Aragorn.
I think 350.
I think he's too expensive for 350.
Wow.
Bill the Pony, King of Our Hearts.
Trash.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Good. I think that his 5-up rule could come clutch, but it never seems to.
If it was a 3 or a 4-up, I think it actually changes the model hugely, because then you can actually rely on it a bit more. But like a 5-up, it's just not worth the effort of trying to get it to line up for it to never pay off.
It's interesting because obviously we built a pony, and I like really heavy like games to get the most out of Bill. So like I was doing stuff like moving Bill to be like 1 inch away from the person I wanted Aragorn to charge, so that Aragorn could tag the person he was charging and Bill. Yeah, and then he could roll. And I think we got 1 in the entire weekend, didn't we?
Yeah,
it was
7 games.
It was like crushingly disappointing how little we were getting it, and I guess that like the rolling was under average.
Yeah, very under average.
So you know there would have been other times where it would have come through. I think he probably does have a place. I mean, if he was in the Legendary Legion, wouldn't you? Because why not
get some more points in there?
But he obviously is not around at that point, which is why I think they should have a proper Legendary Legion with Gandalf and everyone.
Yeah.
But there you go.
I agree.
Smeagol, you're never taking him outside of narrative.
Yeah.
Yep.
Unless you're playing like 1,500 points.
Well, I suppose you could argue that he's more.
He's what?
He's more useful than Merry and Pippin.
Because he can actually do something in combat.
Yeah. He's 5'4", isn't he? Because I think the rule is that you must have Frodo, but I don't think it says that you can't take him with the others. So I think you could run for with Smeagol.
Yeah, well, because
maybe he is useful.
Yeah. I mean, the problem is, like, the reason you're taking Merry and Pippin is to get 2 models to sit on objectives.
Yeah.
Like, you're not taking them for killing power. So, I don't know.
Smeagol will do that better.
Well, he's only 1 model.
He's 2 wins, 1 fate, though.
Yeah. Sure. Strength 4, which is nice.
And he's actually a D4 whilst the Hobbit.
D3.
So he's probably actually more survivable
than both of them put together.
Yeah, and he potentially could do a little bit of killing against regular chaff.
Yeah. Yep. Having used him a lot with Goblin Town, he is.
That's a much better version of him, though.
Oh, is it actually a different stat line?
Well, I don't think it's a different stat line, but obviously the ring will make him massive.
Yeah, I've used him without the ring as well because the risk of him running away is too high sometimes, so I just don't put the ring on.
What's his stat line? In
I think it stays the same.
Off the top of my head, he's fight 4, strength 4, defense 3 or 4, 2 attacks, some other stuff. I don't think he's got. I think he's got 1 might, no will or something.
Okay, yeah, he is the same then. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the ring makes him obviously way better.
It does, but I'd still take him over Merry and Pippin.
Yeah, I think actually,
if you can afford him,
probably would do that. And then that leaves us with the official member of the Fellowship, which is Arwen, who can only be taken. Aragorn is in the Force, which is an FAQ thingy-mabob.
You're right.
She's okay.
She is okay.
Yeah, she's fine.
If you had taken everyone and it was between her and Gandalf, which would you pick for?
Interesting. Well, obviously, very different points levels. So if I could afford Gandalf and I could only pick one, then I would take Gandalf.
Okay, I'll change the question slightly there. Would you take Smeagol, Arwen, and Gimli over at Gandalf?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah, 100%. I did just think model count, and I mean, straight away, Gimli's twice as killy as Gandalf is anyway. And you've still got an extra utility model, and then you've got Arwen, who can still do a little bit of magic.
And she could take Asphaleth.
12-inch means really good as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Arwen can be quite useful. She is very squishy, though. She's basically like a hobbit. She's only D3. But she is actually fight 6. So
Fight 6, and she'll shoot. Well, I mean, only one attack. Is she strength 3? She's strength 3, isn't she?
Yeah, because Games Workshop sexist. Remember, if you get the charge in,
it's not bad.
She came in clutch for us and killed an Easterling to get an objective.
Because to be fair, if you charge, get the knockdown, suddenly you've got 4 attacks. Only at strength 3, but it's still like not awful. Yeah.
Second, I thought that Barleyman and that other guy were in the Fellowship.
No, sadly not.
They're green. They're historic.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So yeah.
So in
pros
games,
and cons.
Pros and cons. I mean, I think this is fairly.
We kind of talked about it.
Obvious. Yeah, I mean, we've put decent magic as a, but I think most of us kind of agree that we wouldn't take Gandalf as absolutely necessary. I think some people would disagree with us, though.
Yeah,
probably.
So, yeah.
I mean, also you get resistant to magic inbuilt on some of the hobbits, which is nice. And obviously in the Legendary Legion, Frodo gets his blinding light thing. There is you're generally fairly good against magic, I think, on the whole. Also, doesn't everyone get Fortify Spirit in the Legion? I'm gonna check that because I think
maybe. I guess actually, thinking about it, that's might be better objective campers than Smeagol because they get resistance magic.
They definitely would be better campers, but then they're less useful in combat, that's all.
Yeah.
Friendly models will count as having the Fortify Spirit magical power cast on them. This is always in effect, even if their will points have been reduced to 0.
I actually think then that because you get blinding light on Frodo, which is obviously you have to activate it each turn, but with Gandalf you have to spend a might point to make it forever, and you can't spend his last will point to keep it there. I just think that they kind of do the stuff you want Gandalf to do, but a bit better, and all you're missing out on is command and
Blessing of the Valar is very good.
True, but then it's such a high cast to get it off.
Yeah, it's 5 up, isn't it, or something?
I think so. So you can chuck 3 will at it to guarantee it, but other than that, it's as likely to work as Build a Pony. So you could argue you might as well just take Bill.
Sure, why not? Let's have a controversial opinion.
Oh, he's a lot cheaper.
It's true. Bill and Gandalf, peas in a pod. Cons the Hobbits? Oh, I don't know if the Hobbits are cons.
I don't think they're cons.
I think Merry and Pippin are potentially cons.
You don't have to take them.
You do you do if you're trying to make a points level, though. To be fair,
no, you don't. If they're in what way are they a con? I don't think they're a con.
So you're saying just run under points, don't take
I think if anything, they're a pro because you can take one and do something with it that you wouldn't any other model in the army, which is to do nothing all game.
But I think if we were to compare this most other army lists, you can take fill that role and do a lot better.
In the context of the army,
in the context of the army, they serve a function.
Yeah, I wouldn't. They're not a pro or a con, really.
It's not like in Thorin's Company where there are some where them and go like, "What the fuck do you do?" Like they do actually do something. It's just there are also going to be a few scenarios where they're liabilities, where they give away easy kill, where they don't contribute really, and it's a lot of the time they're going to be stuck behind a building.
Or fall off a building and cost you the game.
Yeah, or fall off the building and cost you the game.
How we laughed
at the best SBG we've ever played.
Going unrewarded.
Yeah.
Oh, we tried so hard, got so far, and in the end, it didn't even matter.
Yeah. We've put movement as a con. Again, that's probably a little harsh. I think it's not strictly speaking movement. It's more that if you want them to excel at movement, they have to stay very close together. So they're not going to be very maneuverable. Perhaps would be better.
Maybe that'll be changed by the time this reaches the edit.
Yeah, my comment there might have been pointless. Collecting pros and cons. I mean, you can find fellowship models literally just falling from the sky.
Yeah, they're often just like on street corners. Like if you go around late at night, just before bin day, people will have left some spare fellowship models out.
I would genuinely say that there's probably thousands of pounds worth of fellowship models in landfill.
Yeah,
I reckon that's actually true.
Yeah,
which is depressing, isn't it? But there you go.
Yeah, the main plastic kit is fine. It could do with an update, but it's not trash.
It does the job.
It does the job. Yeah, and there are, as it says here, there are loads. I mean, how many Aragorn sculpts are there? 10?
Something like
that. Don't
know.
Yeah. Not all of them in production, obviously, but they'll show up on it. They'll show up on a made to order every now and again.
Yeah, they flick through every now and again. Most of them have sculpts, and it's interesting, isn't it, between how successful Lord of the Rings was and how many sculpts there were compared with The Hobbit and how much of a flop it was, and you can look at how few sculpts there are for the main characters there, just kind of a nice indication of how both went for Games Workshop.
Yeah.
Got him. Yeah. It's everyone is going to own the Fellowship at some point because they're just too iconic not to.
And too useful. It's so likely some members of the Fellowship will be in one of your lists at one point.
Well, unless you purely run evil, I suppose. But yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
If you're doing Lord of the Rings rather than The Hobbit, then at some point you're probably going to want a member of the Fellowship somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Should we have a look at some example lists?
Yeah.
The first one is the least original one ever. It's you take everyone you can in the Legendary Legion, and it works to be exactly 600 points. 600
points because the Elven Cloaks are free.
Because that's how they designed it. And this probably is the way to do them at 600. The only thing you missed out on is Andrew and Gandalf.
Yeah.
And of course Bill, because he's definitely worth including. And you gain just a shit ton of special rules that make them all better at what they do. Yeah.
Apart from, Boromir gets Woodland Creature, I guess I won't bash him too much. And Sam gets to re-roll climbing tests or something, which is also kind of pointless. But Gimli gets a really nice special rule, Legolas gets a really nice special rule, Frodo gets a really nice special rule.
It's like you were saying, they all get that resistance. So
yeah.
That's one of Boromir's greatest weaknesses.
True. It might actually be I was about to say the meta way to do it, but is it definitely the most competitive way to run Fellowship? I don't really know.
I think at 600, yes. I don't think at other point level necessarily is. I think a lot of people would probably prefer horses.
Yes.
Yeah. Especially if you can make your whole army mounted. I know you wouldn't be taking Frodo if you did that, but I mean, maybe your opponent's nice and they're wait, can you put Frodo as a passenger on Boromir's horse, for example?
I don't know. I don't really
in match play.
I don't really ever know how the passenger works in match play, to be honest.
I know how it works, but I think it says in there that basically you've got to ask your opponent to agree that it's okay.
So they all say no.
Yeah.
And you lose.
And then you lose.
And also if you put the ring on whilst the passenger, the horse bolt, which would be
Problematic.
yeah, a bit awkward.
I mean, you could go Aragorn, Boz, Leggy all on horses. That wouldn't be bad.
Obviously, Gandalf on a horse is a very different prospect to Gandalf on foot. I think he's way more useful on a horse.
Yeah, I think any caster like Saruman on a horse is just. I think basic Saruman's still good, but Saruman on a horse is very, very good.
Yeah, just the threat range and lining up Sorcerer's Blast and stuff just suddenly becomes far more viable. The next example list we have, you absolutely shouldn't take, but this is my themed fellowship list, the Escape over the Brunnen.
Yeah,
400 points. It's not very good.
We can confirm. We spent a weekend finding out, and it was really bad.
It's very, very difficult to use. As an ally to Riv Knights, it was surprisingly not
good,
not shit.
Yeah,
but it definitely was not.
It was mainly just because Aragorn gave me a shitload of might to just zip around the board.
It was the threat of a Wrath of Brunnen kind of lurking in the backfield, having the ring and Aragorn, and then everything else was just like, that's also here. I mean, I guess we got a little bit of utility with Sam every now and again, didn't we?
Yeah, we got some nice. That's how we got Azog with the combat.
Yeah, arguably Sam actually did win us that game.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, our opponents lost it more than we won it, to be fair, but yeah.
Yeah, but I think there was a quite legitimate threat that if we didn't do that Azog would have actually just killed the fellowship.
Yeah, solo.
So and then the final list I've got, which I think is a nice low points list that is fairly, probably it's definitely not competitive, but I think it's fairly fun. It's the three hunters: Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli. Yep. They fit in exactly if you give them the stuff that they had at that point to 400. Yep. And that's very obviously, nice. Probably not the best way to run these guys. Up the points, chuck a few ghosts, and there you go. But they definitely exist.
They do.
See, you don't get any army bonus because Frodo's.
It's just them.
So you should definitely not run them in. You should run them as Grey Company.
And you get free Anduril, but no horse.
Anduril. Well, I haven't put horses on these either. So
I see. Okay, so it's objectively.
So take them in Grey Company. Get free Anduril. Get them. Do they get Woodland Creature as well? I think.
I think the Rangers do. I don't know if they do. It'd be a bit weird if they didn't. To be fair,
I think everyone does as part of the Legion. So there you go. Pro tip: Grey Company for the win. I've actually revised my opinion on Grey Company.
Well, after I tried to defend it and you bashed it.
Yeah.
Okay. No, well, I'm often ahead of my own time.
I feel bad. I think I don't
you don't feel that bad though, do you?
No, because it's you. I think I don't think I appreciated how free Andrew, because it's a really boring rule.
Yeah, but it's really good.
And it's when you look at it, you're like, I kind of wish I got like an interesting special rule. But I think actually, just in terms of like in-game advantage, I think actually 40 points probably is about right for a Legendary Legion special rule.
Yep.
And you're basically able to take like an extra ranger for that. Yep. So,
well, I mean,
I retract my statement.
It's definitely more impactful at lower points, isn't it? Because it's just a higher percentage of your overall points. Like at 400, saving 40 points is a really big deal. Whereas obviously, if you scale it up, maybe not so much. But like, I think it definitely helps both Return of the King and Grey Company at lower points levels. It's just getting that free 40 point upgrade.
Another way you could look at it is that you're basically.
Oh,
okay. Can you hear me?
Okay, you're back. Yeah. This has been a very slick recording.
It really has. It's going to be fun to edit. Another way to look at it is you're basically getting the Banner of Arwen.
Even star.
Because that's the same points as Andril. So it's like you more easily slotted the banner. I feel the potential weight of points that is.
Mm-hmm.
You don't feel as much of a pull when you are equipping that.
Mm. Cool. Great. Well,
This was an episode.
I look forward to Mare doing a really favourable edit for when I said that Andrew wasn't an elf with absolute confidence. And I'm sure that I have come out of that looking exceptionally well.
Yeah.
We still got to do an outro.
Goodbye.
See ya.
Goodbye. See ya.